Hello and welcome to Console Shock episode 26, retro and modern gaming chat with me, Trev, and Stu from Playnation Games. How's it going, Stu?
Hi there, Trev. Yeah, really well. My back's feeling a bit better now.
Yeah, you keep doing these stealth. I always say, you ready for the podcast? You're like, yeah, just getting back from the gym.
Yeah,
my back's feeling... Look at me, I'm a muscle man.
Oh, no, I just go there, just something to do, really.
To be fair, you are one of the better-looking video game shop owners. I would probably say that. As a heterosexual, you know.
That's not difficult, though.
What are you trying to say?
It's
good-looking people. Well, Larry said they're sort of depressed goths, isn't it, normally? There's some good-looking depressed goths in CEX these days, not like look at them or anything.
True.
Anyway, let's move on. So we had a show just me and you, wasn't it, last time?
We talked about all Sega stuff, didn't we?
We didn't really plan to, did we? It kind of just ended up as well. It was semi-planned to, but it ended up just being all Sega, didn't it? We have a lot to say about Sega. There's even more to say, but we want to save it. We want to save like the Mega Drive episode and like a Dreamcast episode and the Saturn one. We want to save those for a dedicated rant on Sega, why did you betray us, will be the, well, not the Mega Drive episode, but the other ones. Anyway, we're back with a guest today, and it's someone that me and Stu are big fans of. One of the original sort of YouTubers when it comes to being someone that does videos about old games and collecting retro games and all that sort of stuff, and a person that inspired us to basically get online and do loads of sort of making content on this stuff. It's Steve Benway. Thanks, Steve, for coming on.
Hello, Trev. Hello, Stu, and thank you for having me on here.
No problem at all.
So thank you for coming on. What we're going to do to get us all sort of warmed up, I'm going to fire a quick question out to both of you. So what was the last video game you bought, old or new? Steve?
Wipeout Omega Collection on the PS4.
Oh, just come out, hasn't it?
Yes. I've seen it was coming out. And normally I'm oblivious to when new stuff's coming out, but I've been seeing ads online. And when I saw that, I thought, well, I really liked it on the PS3.
Yeah.
And I hadn't played the Vita version, and that's all part of it. So I thought, I've got to have some of that.
I freaking love Wipeout. But I thought when the Studio Liverpool or whoever, like, there was Psygnosis, of course, and then they turned into Studio Liverpool. Then like, was it last year or the year before? So they were like, yeah, we're stopping them, we're making them all redundant, that's it. And I thought, oh, great, that means Wipeout's done then. Thanks, guys. But now we've come out with this, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that means there's going to be more.
I don't know, is this like just a reworking of their original code or I don't know, but it works. I like it.
Well, is it a greatest hits? Is it Wipeout, all the Wipeout 2097 tracks and original in there? What is it?
I don't know if there's any of the like really early ones, but it is Wipeout HD, which it was like the PSP. PS3 version of the two PSP games, Wipeout Pure and Wipeout. Yeah,
it was like a
Pulse.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, it was weird. There was Wipeout. There was the PSP got a couple, didn't it? Wipeout Pure, which is the one that blew everybody's balls off because it was the first PSP game, really. And then there was Wipeout Pure, which is the sequel to that.
Yeah.
And then the PS3 came out, and we got just Wipeout HD. Then they released Wipeout HD Fury, which is basically just a physical version of Wipeout HD, I think. So it's a bit of a weird.
Not really. It's HD they've merged Pure and Pulse together and put them on the PS3. And Fury was an add-on download. I don't know if it was on the disc at all. And it's new tracks, new ships, and it's like a lot of combat. It's more about blowing up the enemy than racing them.
Yeah, and I think they combined HD and Fury into... Yeah, because I've got a disc. It's literally Wipeout HD Fury.
Right.
It's just a physical release of, as you say, of Fury. And it's all right. I didn't mind it. I mean, it's... the thing that impressed me the most is it was 1080p and 60 FPS on PS3, and obviously that's that generation of 360 and PS3. There wasn't many games that did that. As I think me and Stu have talked about it before, but yeah, my favourite one is still 2097. 3 was all right. It came out quite late in the PS1's life, so a lot of people didn't really pay attention to it.
Wasn't 3 called Whip 3 Out?
They love doing that. Whip 3 out.
Yeah.
I never heard of Wipeout 3. I don't think they ever brought that one out.
I'm quite fond of Whip 1 out. I've done that quite a few times.
Oh no,
guys, stop it. Yeah, I've got Wipeout of Whip 3 out, and they also released Wipeout 3 Special Edition, which is like, I don't know, I haven't got that, but yeah, I've got the first two. I've got them on. It's one of those ones that I've got more than once. I've got 2097 and the original on the Saturn as well. They're actually all right on the Saturn. Just the frame rate is a tad lower, but the game is the same, really. And
I really struggled with them on the PS1, the early ones. I loved the soundtrack, but I just couldn't play them. I was like just in the wall all the time.
That track, Guerre d'Europa, which is the one I used to love, that is rock hard. The corners, yeah, it was mastering the air brake, wasn't it? You had the L&R had an air brake, which meant you could sort of swing around a corner like a drifting in Ridge Racer. But you basically had to just memorize the tracks to be able to beat them on the high. I think I did it. I think I beat it. I got gold on everything, but I was like, 14, so I could spend all night doing it.
Skills to play that. It was just unforgiving, because if you just slightly scraped the sides, that was it. You stopped. But the modern ones, they you can kind of get away with it.
The first one was really bad. The first one, if you so much as looked at the side, you basically lost a load of speed. And in 2097, you kind of just got sparks, and you could scrape. If you full on twatted the side, and that would kill your speed, which you would do a lot.
That would be me. All the time.
You do a bit of side twatting. That could be several things actually in the game. Yeah, it was kind of like Ridge Racer in that sense. You sort of you hit the side and you lost all your speed, and that was the goal, was to just get a perfect racing line. But yeah, I played the PSP one. I didn't get the Vita one, as you say. I think it's like in bargain bins at the moment. But yeah.
Well, the Vita one is on this Omega Collection.
Yes,
that's the 2048.
Yeah. But all the ones I've played since, there was Fusion, wasn't there, on the PS2 as well?
I've got that, but mine bugs out. I get onto the second circuit and it just crashes, which is...
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if it's probably a fault with the disc, but I've never got beyond that second level because it just bugs out.
Is that on a PS2 console? You're not trying to play it on a PS3 or...?
I think I've tried it on both.
Yeah. Oh, pretty got bugged disc.
Yeah.
Buff the old disc, I think. Yeah. So yeah, but none of them I've never really felt the. It was when I remember seeing my first experience of a PlayStation was very, very late in its not late in its life, but not in the beginning, because where I grew up in this seaside town in Essex, there was we're about a year behind the mainstream, in terms of like whatever console or computer is the latest one, unless you were very rich. So I didn't play a PlayStation 1 until like 1997. Which is like crazy. It's like nearly about a year and a half after it came out, because my local rental shop actually got them in. You could rent them out. We talked about this, didn't we, Stu, about renting? And you could rent the actual PlayStation. It wasn't just the games. You got this big metal keepsake box, huge suitcase thing that had a foam insert inside that you could and you could rent it for like £6. And you could take the PS1 home and you got the demo disc with it, and you got the all the cables. I used to rent that. I used to rent it out, and
still got that demo disc. Actually, I've got a whole box full of them.
Yeah, the one that came with it was amazing. It had these amazing graphical effects in the menus, and you got like the T-Rex.
Yeah, that Psygnosis thing where you would load up the program and then you put in a music CD, and it that visual thing. That was great.
Visualize the thing, yeah. And and it had all the demo like Tekken on it, and I think Wipeout 2097 was one of them. And that just blew my balls off when I played it. I was just like, whoa! And at the time, I had an Amiga 500, so the jump from that, and I know you did get polygonal games on the Amiga, but to have something as smooth and fast as that, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
So Stu, what about you?
Oh God! Well, I keep on talking about my holiday to Vegas I've got planned. So I've not been heavy sort of buying the games as I usually do, but I did.
So wait a minute, Stu, you've been talking about going to the gym, and now you just casually drop the fact you're going to Vegas. So I drove up in my limo after going to the gym.
Whoa! I'm just going to the gym.
But you understand. I'm a lazy.
The other day you went to the supermarket.
That is my limit, pretty much. That is literally my limit.
Yeah, so go to the gym. But I'm going to Vegas, and it's taken all of my money, and I'm just sort of trying to save as much money so when I go there, I can.
You haven't bought any games?
No, well, I have.
Oh, right, okay.
Ages ago, I bought the game Ys Origins on the PlayStation 4. I downloaded that, and then I found out that it came out on the PlayStation Vita. So I thought, well, I'll go on there and I can see if I can get hold of it. And on the Vita, because I got it on the PS4, I was able to download it for free. So I started playing it again on the Vita, and I'm playing as one of the other characters, and I'm really enjoying it. It's good. It's a good game.
It's like a weird, isn't it? An RPG? Well, I know from the Turbo Duo.
I mean, it was originally on the Turbo Graphics and PC Engine, but it's basically an action RPG. So you've got the leveling up, but it's not going to a battle. Magic, attack. Let's use a spell. Let's do this. It hasn't got that boring that sort of gameplay that I've never been a super fan of. So it's a bit more action orientated. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's good.
So I'm in a bit of a PS1 kick at the moment. So I picked up two games. I got WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, which is my favourite wrestling game, and Mortal Kombat 3, which always eluded me, but I managed that one that's in that weird cardboard box. The only sort of PS1 game that has that. So yeah, it's not my favourite version of Mortal Kombat 3. The PC version is. That's actually I find that's the closest to the arcade version. But yeah, and WWF the arcade game, very not much like wrestling games now. It's basically just button mashing, but it's kind of it's Mortal Kombat mixed with wrestling, is how I describe it. It was made by Midway, so they literally is, there is some DNA that's crossed between them there a little bit. So
I had the WWF game in your house. I think that was the same.
That was a sequel, to it, yeah.
Yeah, that just felt like
really crap, though.
Mortal Kombat. Oh yeah, it was awful.
They went mental with the gimmicky stuff and all that, and it just ruined it, really. But yeah, that's also on the PS1, isn't it? I think, yeah. Same thing where it's digitized wrestlers, Mortal Kombat style, on it's very well done. But yeah, it was on everything, on the Mega Drive and the SNES and everything. But the Saturn and the PlayStation ones are the best ones because obviously they were far more powerful then. But yeah, anyway, that was the quick fire round. So Steve, we've got you on the show. So we're going to grill you a little bit.
Oh my!
So actually, one thing that I've already asked you when we quickly had a chat before we started recording, the Friday Talkie.
Yes.
So what happened to him?
I stopped. Is the short.
I know that was it. We liked him.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter about this earlier today. It reaches a point where you can only memory and reminiscing and nostalgia and whatnot. It will only take you so far, and then you just start repeating yourself. It's like there's a finite number of stories to tell, and it's like, well, I'm either repeating myself and everyone's heard it all before, or to be honest, I got bored.
Yeah,
I didn't have anything left to say, so to have carried on, I would have been forcing it, and I think that would have showed. It would have been sort of clear I'd lost my enthusiasm, and I didn't want to do that. It's doing a YouTube show is all about having fun, and I wasn't having fun anymore, so I stopped.
I guess it's difficult when it's just you in front of the camera, whereas obviously with me and Stu doing this, we can kind of ask each other questions and banter and all that stuff. Yeah. So I can. Yeah, that's a fair point. Stu, have you got any questions you'd like to throw out there?
Well, yeah, we're sort of talking about your YouTube channel. It's I'm thinking about getting an Android 4K box. Have you got any tips?
I've only tried 2 Android boxes, one which claimed to be 4K, which was called a V88. But I believe the 4K on that was probably 720p upscaled.
4K.
Yeah. And it died. It didn't last very long. I wouldn't go there.
No, because I've noticed on your channel recently you've been doing a few sort of reviews of sort of people who've been sending you boxes and things to review, and I think on Facebook you put someone's offered me this. God, I don't want to bloody review it. It looks rubbish. That was I don't think you said that, but that's the sort of the opinion that I got from the way you wrote it.
Not so much. The thing I was talking about on Facebook recently was it was a drone, and was it. Yeah, I've always been one for I'll do whatever the hell I like on my channel kind of thing, but it's always been gaming, and this to me it's like, okay, this is a step away from gaming, and I'm a bit unsure about this. So I thought I'd look for some feedback. But sometimes I do get offered some real tat, and I'm like, I don't want to. If it just looks like rubbish, I'm just not even going to go there. But that one kind of looks interesting. But there have been some things that I've reviewed that have been not what they should have been.
Yeah, the one that I was interested in was that projector, that tiny projector.
Yeah, that's a cool piece of kit.
But it doesn't look like it didn't, like input-wise, it's kind of a bit difficult, isn't it? Because there's not just a HDMI or anything.
Yes, that is its. Yeah, it's got 2 drawbacks really. It is the lack of an HDMI or any other kind of input. If you can't do, I can't remember if it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but if you can't do that, you basically got to put your video files onto a micro SD and plug it in and do it that way. So it's not ideal for. I don't know, if you want to play a retro console or computer or anything like that and project it on the wall, that's not the thing to use.
It's interesting because I think ultimately like projectors will take over from TVs because people just want bigger screens, and it's just not practical to have a big glass panel thing.
I don't know, having a dark enough room is a problem because you've got to wait until blackout curtains or something, or wait until night time.
Oh, I've got very dark rooms. It'll be fine.
You can put one in your dungeon, Trev.
Yeah, can do. Yeah, don't tell anybody about the dungeon part.
No, I won't. A little secret.
I heard nothing.
So, was the picture good on that? Were you able to go? Okay, it's pretty good. It's sit down with the wife and let's watch a film, or was it?
It's interesting, actually. It's not like watching a high-definition TV, even though I found the optimum size if I wanted a big screen. It was about 50-inch. And it wasn't like an HD screen, but it kind of didn't matter. It had a sort of warmth, like being in a small cinema. So it was nice. It's very different from watching telly, but it's good. It was it's watchable.
Because it sounds stupid, but just say this is a stupid idea, Stuart. But I think the next big innovation in phones is having a projector built into the phone. Is that a stupid idea?
It's already been done, I think.
Has it?
Oh,
yeah.
I think it has.
There you go. Okay, all right.
Doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Well, I don't think anyone else has done it, so.
Yeah, no, it's been done, I think. But I agree, actually. I think that is a good idea because I can imagine businessmen who want to sort of show a presentation. They don't want to, maybe they haven't got their laptop on them. They could just, bring it up on their phone. And because it seems like that technology is now small enough to put in a phone if it could fit in that little cube.
Exactly. So if you want to, you're sitting in a hotel room and you just want, I want to watch some Steve Benway on YouTube, and then you just throw it up onto the wall with a projector that's built in and sort of leave the playlist going or something. And
100-inch Steve Benway. 100-inch Steve Benway in your room.
Life size it'll be.
I think cinema.
Steve's about to leave the podcast. Actually, that's a good point. Do you get, well, not people projecting you in a giant fashion, but yeah, like to the world, like, you know. Did you get like something we asked of Oliver Harper when he was on? Do you get recognised? Do you get people asking you when you're out? Or?
Never.
Oh.
No, I say never. Once. I mean, go to exhibitions and go to Replay or whatever, and it's like I don't get a chance to play the games because I'm just talking to people who are, oh, you're Steve Benway, and I probably know half of them. But in the street, it's only ever happened once, and it's a chap who lives in the same town as me, and I was just walking along this street, and there's this voice hollering from a car across the road. Oi, Benway! And I'm like, okay.
Is it Harry Enfield? No!
YouTuber called PreyDog1. I remember his name because he's the only person who's ever spotted me.
So did you just say hello to him? Or
I went over and had a chat. I bumped into him a couple of times in town, and actually once while I was walking to town, and once in the local Tesco. And quite late at night, you're like, hello, Benway. And I was like, I know you.
I know you.
You want to get worried when he turns up at your house and starts knocking on the door. Benway!
I made a video for a week. Make a video now for me.
Yeah. I had a camera. The first time I bumped into him, I had a camera with me, and I was like, let's video clip, say hi. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And don't blame him because it's like sudden exposure when. Yeah. Could have been fun.
But you don't want to be exposing yourself on YouTube.
No.
So, sort of an obvious question, probably the one we should have started out on. So, what kind of possessed you to sort of think, you know what, I'm going to put a video of all this shit on YouTube? How did you get started? What sort of inspired you?
Right. I had a camera, and I didn't know what to do with it.
The devil makes work for idle hands.
That kind of thing. I mean, it was for photos. I've been into photography for donkey's years, but all of a sudden I've got a digital camera that will take adequate video. So I did a video of me reading a kid story badly.
Right.
And then a video of me dogs in the garden. It was like, well, I'm putting them on YouTube, but I just didn't know what to do. I wanted to make videos, and I had no idea what. So I've got this collection in my games room, and I recorded a video of that, thinking no one's going to care about this, but it's something to do and make a video of. And it got a huge response, and everyone was leaving comments saying, well, show us your games then. And I didn't know if they meant the games in the boxes or play the things so we could see what they look like. So I did that, and it kind of, I haven't stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, in terms of the collecting, I don't know if Stu's got a different story, but I'm sure a question you get a lot is why do you collect and how did you start? For me, and I think, I don't know if this is a common story, but I didn't sort of decide, I didn't wake up one day and think, right, I'm collecting video games, I'm going to buy these games. It was just, I just kept the stuff I had and built on it and got the stuff that I wanted to get back in the day that I couldn't afford. It just kind of, it just accidentally happened, really. Would you say that was the same for you with the collecting side of things?
Not entirely. Like yourself, I kept a lot of the stuff I'd had from when I was younger. My Electron and my Atari 600 XL, my original Atari DCS and ZX81s had died by then. But it hit about 1997. And I realized all those computers that I couldn't afford when I was a kid that I'd read about were at the car boot sales, and they were dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So I just thought, all those ones I've heard of, I'm going to buy them because I can. So I did. And Commodore PET for $10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Commodore C64 GS for $10.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's just like car boot sales. They were so cheap. And find them now for like hundreds, and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I bought them then. I see other stuff that I passed up on back then, thinking, well, that's just not retro enough. And I look at it now and think, God, I wish I'd bought that. Expensive.
A Commodore PET, especially, because that's part of that holy trinity of personal computers that came out in 1977, the Apple II, the TRS-80. I'm not sure if we got that over here, and the Commodore PET.
Yeah,
did we get it?
The Model 1, you do see them every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Getting one that works, though, apparently is not easy. They've got a tendency to the monitors blow up.
Yeah, we got the Apple II, but we didn't get it till about a year later, because I've got one. I've got an Apple II Euro Plus, which is the one that we got. We didn't get the original vanilla Apple II that had like 4K of RAM and it can only load things off tape. Well, you could upgrade that one later on, but that was what you could get in 1977. And the annoying thing about it is you have to... it was fun. The original Apple II, the American one, it's famous for being, color, because Wozniak had some programming tricks.
Right.
He could sort of sneak in color data or color signal into the NTSC signal, but that doesn't work for PAL.
No, they do the same thing with the TRS-80 with the Coco and get more colors out of it.
Yeah,
on the NTSC, and it doesn't work on PAL. Yeah,
it's annoying because I'm trying to find one for my Apple II, but you have to get a PAL color encoder card, which you have to slot into. It's easy to get going when you get it going, but you have to slot it in, and that gives you the color. Yeah. So long as I've got Elite for the Apple II, which is quite a good version of Elite, but obviously it just runs on in black and white. But if I've got the color card, I could get it. But yeah, so those I don't think you would see out in the wild these days, and I'm pretty sure you would never see a Commodore PET. I'm not sure they turn up on eBay.
Well, mine's not so much the early PET; it's the CBM 1832. So it was one of the final models in the. From the final ones. It's not one of the Porsche bubbly round ones. It's from the tin.
The one that was the all-in-one thingy. Like sort of triangle shape, isn't it, almost?
This thing's it's the tin box. It's the
yeah.
Well,
cool.
Heavy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Stu, have you got any questions?
Well, yeah. I mean, sort of how I got into collecting the games was pretty much sort of similar. It was just that God, they're cheap now, but I remember getting rid of all my games sort of when I got the shop. It was when it started, it was a difficult business, and to try and get it all moving. So I think I donated lots of things to the shop to make it succeed, and then ultimately it's almost come the other way around now. Is that lots of games come in and I go, oh God, I've always wanted that one. I'll put that in Stuart's pile, and I'll take that home at the end of the day or something, and sort of play on it for a little while and sort of reminisce. But that's it really. But I try and keep it sort of concise, and like to have about sort of 5 or 6 machines set up. Then I've got probably about another 10. All in the cupboard, sort of, and I sort of switch them in and out, and I find that's the best way to do it. I think at one point I wanted to have everything set up, all linked up with loads of wires, and
it's not really
in reality, that's not possible.
You watch your electric meter whizzing around.
Well, yeah, exactly, and I think I've still got quite a few machines sort of set up now, but probably about in the spare room, I think I've got about 5 or 6, and then in the living room, I've got the Switch and the PS4 all set up. So
it's just finding a TV unit for that kind. If you really want it to be instantly accessible, your average kind of Argos TV unit is just for like maybe a DVD or a Blu-ray player, obviously the telly, and maybe a media unit like a Mac Mini or something, and that's it. For people like us, it's like, I want to have my NES in there. I want to have maybe an Amiga somehow. I want to have like a gaming PC, and they're just not made for that. You have to get the big IKEA, big sort of block unit thingies. They work, obviously. That's if your other half is willing for you to have a.
Well, I think that's the issue now. Well, I'm at the point where maybe I don't want my living room to look like millions of machines, and things are a little bit hidden, and But you can see I've got a PlayStation 4, but I think there's a guy online, I can't remember what his name is, but he's got an amazing sort of a room. On one side's a CRT TV, one side's a LCD TV, and then he's got all these sort of metal racks, and he literally got every console on there, and they're all plugged in. He's got all different, this whole sort of system of running them all, and it's quite an amazing sort of setup. And
I mean, Steve, you've got a room, haven't you? You've got a room, haven't you, where you keep all your gubbins?
Yeah, one TV, and thankfully it's got lots of inputs on it, and it seems to be compatible with just about everything.
Yeah.
And I've got several different consoles and computers and whatnot that are plugged into it all the time. And then if I want to do something else, I just take it off the shelf and plonk it in front of the telly. With SCART adapter things, you can have like multiple inputs and then It probably takes about 10 minutes to set up something new if I don't want to use one of the ones that are always sitting there. So it works out all right. Yeah,
it's annoying. So I have a unit that I sort of have a standard set of consoles that I know I'm always going to play. So the sort of the modern ones, and then in terms of retro ones, I've got like a Super Nintendo and a Mega Drive, and they just kind of permanently stay in there. But they're kind of a lot of these sort of cables for those are kind of swappable. So if I think, you know what, I want to play on my GameCube, I can use the SNES SCART lead. So I'll just pop the SNES to one side and pop the GameCube there. And the power adapter for the GameCube has a kettle lead that goes into it, so I can pop the kettle lead out of the PS3 and stick that in the adapter. So I'm not getting out more cables and creating more spaghetti. I've got like trunking and stuff that I keep all the cables in, so there's nothing, potentially that my cat is going to decide he wants to chew on or play with or anything. So
kettle leads and figure of 8 leads are godsend.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, cable tie these and a lot of trunking I find really good to sort of tidy all that stuff away. And I've got a multi-SCART thingy as well. Old consoles are great because SCART's the best way to plug them in, and most HDTVs only tend to have one these days. And they'll have like 3 or 4 HDMIs and one sort of SCART, which is a bit of a pain. You have to get a switch.
Mine's got 2 SCART inputs on my telly, and it's weird because they don't do the same thing. I think one's RGB SCART and one's something else, and that something else is not as sharp, which you'll think that's no good, but it actually makes Mega Drive games look better.
Yeah, one annoying thing I experienced with my HD TV is the SCART in it doesn't support putting S-video through SCART. So I've got a CD32, and if I try and put an S-video cable into a SCART block, which you can get adapters that do that, and pop that into the SCART, I get a black and white picture. And for ages, I was like, what the hell? But it turned out my model of TV doesn't support S-video through SCART, so I just have to hook the composite cables in.
Because I had an issue with my TV. I'm boring details now, but it was you could change the AV1 and AV2 to be an RGB or to a composite. You can switch it over, because I remember plugging in, I think, a Dreamcast, and it was like, oh my god, the picture's awful.
Fuzzy.
It was terrible. It wasn't even. Oh yeah, this is composite, but it's fine. It was to the point it was unplayable. So you could change the AV1 so it was an RGB or a composite, and you could change AV2 to is it going to be this or is it going to be that, and you could sort of almost set it up as you want to, but you got to go deep into the TV's sort of menu system to try and work out how to do these things. And if you don't know that you can do them, it's quite difficult.
You got sort of some consoles that will cover you for a couple on their own, like my 360 can play. Obviously, you can play Xbox original games. There's a lot more annoyingly, a lot of my favourite ones don't work. But most of them I'm covered. And then the PS3, if you've got the fat one, you got PS1, 2, and 3 in one. Which is I daren't turn them on now because you're worried they're going to fail, especially the original PS3.
I killed one. I killed one, and thankfully Andrea found me another one.
Right, well, the fat one.
Yeah.
Did you get the yellow light?
I can't remember what happened with it. It just stopped working.
It's weird, yeah. I got a PS3 in October 2007, so not long after it launched in the UK from Dixon's. I had to get a loan to get it. It's so expensive. And I got it, and the little in-store finance thing. I had to do that. I couldn't just slap 500 odd quid down, but I really wanted it, so I got one. And I got it with MotorStorm and Resistance: Fall of Man. That's all that was out.
I definitely started with MotorStorm. I can't remember what the second game was, but Resistance I got pretty soon as well. Yeah,
it was a deal they were doing, to get you to sort of buy them, and I got an extra controller and a HDMI cable. I didn't have a HD TV; I had a 14-inch Philips CRT. So I got a PS3 plugged into that through just a crappy SCART connection. But even then, I was like, "Whoa, this looks amazing!" And having a wireless controller, which is obviously, it wasn't really a complete novelty, but as standard, it was. Because I had a 360 that died, and I got rid of it. But that was the cheapo core version, which had the wired controller. That worked great, and it died after 7 years. It lasted for 7 years, and I was playing a game, and it just reset itself. And then I got a yellow light of death, and I had to get it replaced. They gave me another fat, and then that died as well. And they gave me another one, and that died as well.
So hold on, they replaced it after 7 years.
They replaced it. Well, I had to pay. I paid you pay a bit less. It wasn't like 300 quid. It was like 100.
Yeah,
or something. I was like, I'll pay that because I want to keep the. Yeah, but then that failed a few months later, and they gave me another one for free because that one should have worked. And eventually, when I got to the third one, that failed. And this is all in the space of about 4 months. And then they gave me a Slim. Nothing. They were just fat PS3s. They just fail, unfortunately. Well, what was it? I remember Watchdog did a big investigation into it, didn't they? Apparently, if you stick them in an oven, that cured it because it was a thermal paste or something.
I thought you were going to say,
Trev, you stick them in the oven, they break.
Dry.
you take the motherboard out, isn't it? And it reflows it.
Yeah.
It melts all the solder joints, and they go back into where they're meant to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or the thermal paste sort of softens or something in it. Yeah, and it works. So it's not, Stu, literally put on a baking tray, put a gas mark 12 for like an hour. It's like,
you have to put it in with a loaf of bread.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, baste it with a bit of But yeah, no. So you got that, and then there's an element of that, which helps you to get rid of the clutter, and there's also emulation. I mean, a lot of people, when I tell them I collect games, they're like, "Oh, why don't you just get a PC and emulate it?"
There's a place for emulation, but it's never going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, I like both. There's a great thing. I'm addicted at the moment to retro achievements. There's RetroArch on the PC, it's fucking awesome. It's probably the best. It's not an emulator; it's like a wrapper, which you can put all the emulators inside, and you navigate between them with like a PS3 type cross menu bar thing. So yeah, go and get it. If you haven't got it, go and get it. It's free.
It's good on Android.
Yeah, it's on everything actually, isn't it? You can get
What's it called? Sorry,
RetroArch. Yeah, you have to have the ROM.
That on the GPD-XD is that's my go-to thing straight away. Mainly just for the 32X, because trying to emulate the 32X on Android, that's the only thing that will do it.
So is it the same? It's literally just the great little interface. You just tell it where your ROMs are. You have to download the cores.
Yeah.
Right? You get like the Mega Drive core and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, you can do all of that within it.
Yeah, so you can set them up to boot straight into it, can't you? So it's just bam, you're just like straight there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it goes all the way up to the GameCube now. I'm not sure if that'll work on an Android. I couldn't get it to work on my PC.
I've not been able to get it to work on Android. I have managed to emulate GameCube on the GPD Win, but I don't think I was using RetroArch to do that. No, I was using Dolphin.
It's very picky of the kind of like the ISO because I've got an entire multiple gigabyte folder of PS1 games, but they come in so many different formats. You get ones that are just a plain, simple one file ISO. Another one that's a folder where it's all the CD tracks, and then there's a bin and a queue file.
Yes.
Yeah, but like EPSXE and the big separate PlayStation emulators, they're fine with those. But RetroArch doesn't like those. I think it needs just a. I don't really know what it needs. I'm still trying to work it out. But
I've run into ones where you download it, you've got a bin and a queue and all of the audio files, but they've converted them to MP3.
Yeah.
If you try and run it on the original hardware, it's like, that's not going to work.
Yeah, because there was an era of about the first couple of years of the PS1. Most of the time, the music would be just a CD, a Red Book audio track. And there'd be a very small. But I think when the actual game data started taking up a large amount of space, they had to start, using custom like codecs and stuff and embed the music into the game data. And those games are actually better because you just get an ISO. But yeah, it's a bit. I think the later optical based consoles are better as well for that because they never had a period of having CD audio tracks.
Mega CD is probably the hardest I've found for getting them with the music.
It's a pain. With that. It's an absolute pain, isn't it? Getting it on actual hardware as well. I mean, me and Stu talked about this in our Sega episode. They're a bit of a pain because your 3DOs and your CD32 just grab an ISO, burn it, bam, it'll just play. But a Mega CD, you've got to burn them in a very specific way. You'll often get a bin and a queue file. You have to burn them at a particular speed and yada yada yada. And often they'll come, like you say, you'll get the audio tracks in .8 format or something, and you've got to convert those to MP3 and convert them to WAV. Yeah, it's an absolute pain. And there's region locking on Mega CD games as well. I think they're region locked. I think you need a CDX to be able to, or I think you can add the region data into an ISO, so it kind of you can get around it that way. But RetroArch, it's great. It goes all the way up to the GameCube, I think. And the great thing I went off there on a tangent, but there's something called RetroAchievements. It's like a website that someone set up years ago. People have actually patched in achievements not into the ROMs, but into emulators. So if you do finish the first level of Mario, you'll unlock an achievement and it will go to your, you can have a retro achievement gamer score or kind of the trophies on PlayStation. And RetroArch has that integrated into it. So load up a Mega Drive.
Never noticed that.
Yeah, well, we should all get together and have a little, achievement contest amongst ourselves. But yeah, I spent a whole weekend just going crazy, getting as many easy ones as I could. There's the complete first level of Mario. You get it's points. You get 10 points or something. And it's finish the first level of Contra. Put the Konami code in. Was one that I was a bit random. I was playing ISS Deluxe on this, and it was like lose 3-0 was an achievement. So I just sat there and do that. Yeah. You can submit your own as well, but it's you have to sort of patch the ROM or something. It's not as simple as just saying put this achievement in there, because it has to run a script in the background to see if you're getting the achievement. But yeah, no, look it up. RetroAchievements.org. You just set up an account; it's all free. And then there's a I can't remember, but it's like an FAQ on the RetroArch website which tells you which emulators you need to run a game in order to pick up the achievements. You have to turn the achievements on, but you do it just from one of the menus in RetroArch. But yeah, I get cravings to play the real hardware. So yeah, I can't do it with just emulators.
I was going to ask you, Steve, about your theme song.
Oh yeah,
and it is. I was sort of thinking about it that it's it's very catchy.
Yeah.
It's you know, and they go, I'm here to play the game, and it's play it badly, and you know, you don't have to watch, but you know, you can if you want.
Not a walkthrough, playthrough, review, anything like that. It's just me playing the game badly. So
yeah, that's it.
Like.
So we all got a massive rush from that just
then. But no, it is good. But then your playthroughs when you're. So I think a lot of people, when you see playthroughs of, I don't know, people playing Call of Duty, you know, they're always really good at it, or and things like this, and it's almost quite fun of you playing a game and you rumbling along, and I can imagine people shouting at the screen, "No, press this button."
They do.
No, oh, what's he doing? Don't do this, do that. And do you get a lot of sort of feedback from people on?
Yeah, they say, "Why on earth would you do that? Why are you playing this so badly? Why don't you practice? Why don't you read the instructions?" And I'm like,
no,
that's not what I do.
Steve, never ever read instructions.
I don't.
Before you play a game, you must do not ever play a game first and then make your video.
Does anybody really read the instructions on them when they get? You're that excited normally to play a game. You're not going to be like, "Oh yes, I must read the instructions before attempting this game as per the guidance." But like,
I think what I'm saying is, you get some people on YouTube and you watch them because they're really, really good at a certain game, and then you get other people they're not quite as good, or they're just new to a game, and things like that. And it's quite fun to sort of to watch that. That's what I think, anyway.
The way it came about, it wasn't entirely planned. Because originally, when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. There would be those who say I still don't, and they're probably right. But I realised, okay, people want to see me games, so I'm going to play them. And I realised there's only so many hours in the day, and I've got so many games that there's no way I've got time to practice. So I'll just do like I did when I was a kid. You know, you rush home from the shop, you plug it in, you turn it on, you play, and you figure it out while you're playing. So for the first half an hour or whatever, you play like a complete plonker. And that's how my videos came out. And people were like, "Well, why are you doing this?" And it's just like, well, this is what it's like. I think the only times I've ever read instructions are either when I get completely stuck, or if I was like on the bus on the way home, I'd sit and read the instructions because obviously I couldn't play it right there and then. It kind of stuck because a certain crowd obviously liked it, and the people who didn't like it just went away. So, yeah.
I mean, how big is your games collection?
I've got no idea. I really don't know. I know the last time I counted my hardware systems, and it keeps growing because I keep getting sent things by like GearBest and viewers will send me things every now and then. The last time I counted, which was a few years ago, it was about 130. But there's like different versions of the same thing. Like I've got 3 or 4 different Spectrums or whatever, and a couple of different Mega Drives and all that. But I've got games for most of them, but some more than others. So in total, and the thing is, there's things like your EverDrive and your SD card-based interfaces that you can put on the computers and stuff. And I mean, do you count them? Because I certainly play them and make videos where it's not the original thing. So it's like, I don't even know how to count it, never mind say how many.
Right. What's your favourite system?
Oh, God. That depends what mood I'm in and what day of the week it is.
Yeah, same here, yeah.
I mean, the one that gets played the most is the PS4 at the moment because it's in the living room. But the retro stuff, God. Do you know, I really couldn't tell you.
That's not... But obviously, the Amiga is better than the Atari ST, though.
Oh, God, yes. Of course. Do we have an ST user here somewhere, maybe?
Trev, do you want to jump in there? Trevor?
Yeah, I like the ST. The Amiga is like blows the pants off it though. The Atari ST would be more bearable if it had a decent sound chip like the Amiga, but you'll play like like Cannon Fodder or something, and you think, there's an Atari ST version that would be interesting to try out, and then just the music just. Well, they do sort of the theme tune on that example is actually recreated by, I don't know, they're literally like playing back like a recording of it. But then when you get into the game, it's just really bleepy and kind of shit.
Yeah.
And it just kills it. Whereas the Amiga just blew the socks.
It does have nice sound on it. I mean, the ST needed the blitter, and it was quite a long. Was it the STE when they finally stuck a blitter in it?
The train had already left the station by then, unfortunately. I think, and made games. But yeah, I mean, have you watched the Bedrooms to Billion, the Amiga years one?
I have. I don't entirely remember what I know I've watched it, but I don't remember an awful lot.
I think it was that great.
The problem. I watched a couple of Amiga ones, and they concentrate so much on the American aspect of it, where in Europe and Britain it was totally different.
And it's sort of basically, it's like it was the whole thing was, it was great. I used to love making my TV programs on it, and I was the only person that had one, but I loved my Amiga. And then they have a little 5-minute segue to, in Europe, it was really successful. But anyway, back to if we made, we need like a UK, I know there was UK people interviewed, we needed a UK-centric one.
Yeah,
because we'll be able to tell them all about, like, from 1985 to the mid-90s. We used to play the crap out of it. We had all these fantastic games that, maybe Americans played on another format. And when Americans were gushing over the NES, we had the Amiga, the Amiga was kind of our NES a little bit, I guess.
The Amiga and the way the Amiga is viewed and the difference between Britain and Europe and America is also similar to the so-called great video game crash, because we just didn't really have one because they were playing at Spectrums and stuff. It's just different world.
And it also, like we mentioned them already, but the first sort of home computers, like again, they sort of gush over the Apple II. But we got the Euro Plus here, but it was so expensive. It was over $2,000. This is in 1978, and only a couple of years later, we had the ZX80 and the ZX81, which could probably do a lot of what the Apple II could do at that point in time. Not, ZX Spectrum, and then the Commodore 64. That was easily a match for what the Apple II could do.
And then your Beebs and your Amstrads.
Yeah, and
exactly, yeah.
And in schooling, a lot of people, when they talk about a computer like the Apple II, or even it wasn't until like the 2000s that really the Mac became popular in the UK. I didn't have one in school, though. I mean, when I hear Americans review them and stuff, this is the one that we had in our school. We didn't have. We had Archimedes and BBC Micros and all that stuff. And but thankfully, we've got people like yourself and Kim Justice and people like that are able to sort of put the record straight. Larry Bundy.
Yeah. I'll get to remember this stuff.
Yeah.
We have research machines. 380Zs and 480Zs, Link research machines. They were great with that. 20 of them in a classroom hooked up to a Winchester hard drive, and it was like an LP playing in that thing.
Like a dialysis machine.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Next to you, yeah. I mean, I think you've actually made some videos where you actually sort of made a point of saying, right, guys, this is how computer history happened here. Because I can imagine you probably have a lot of Americans that would watch your channel and be like, why aren't you doing millions of NES games, and all that?
Because I don't think I've ever seen an Apple II in the flesh. And you listen to a lot of podcasts and people go, the first machine I had was an Apple II. And I don't know. It feels like in America, in like the early 80s and the late 70s, everyone got into programming. And I think all their parents must have been millionaires. So they're buying all these machines, and they're buying things like a disk drive with the Commodore 64.
Yeah, I've never, bloody thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. And then over in the UK, you had people, and then my dad got me for Christmas a 48K Spectrum, and then I had to wait 2 months until I could get a cassette drive for it.
Something that really pissed me off about the Commodore disk drive is the Simpsons arcade game was released on the Commodore disk drive in the US, but not over here on anything. How annoying is that? Like a legendary arcade.
Really?
Yeah, the Simpsons arcade game that we all had in a fish and chip shop or whatever. That scrolling beat 'em up game. It came out on the Commodore. Oh right, yeah. Where were you?
I was probably down the road playing Defender.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, you're okay then. But yeah, it was like 90s, I think that game, 1990 that came out. But yeah, and the only home port that came out was on the Commodore, well, actually the PC and the Commodore 64, but only on the disc. And we got the disc.
But that must have been an awful version.
No, it's really good. It's actually really good. Yeah, check it out on the YouTubes. I think Lazy Game Reviews actually does it. Clint. And yeah, you should check it out. It's actually really because most of the time when we got a port of an arcade machine on the commie, it was horrendous. Most of the time
comes to mind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Outrun. A lot of people like that, but I think it's terrible. You got Chase HQ was good, wasn't it? Well, the Specky version was very good, and you got the odd gem. But when you saw it was like Ocean, you were like, "Oh God!" Here we go.
Horrify people. I'm not actually a fan of the Commodore 64 at all.
Well, you guys will get on great because both of you are Spec chums.
I'm not a Spectrum fan either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pray to
Steve, I've gone off you now.
There's a couple of games on each one that I like. It's like Jetpack on the Spectrum, and oh God, what's that? Forbidden Forest on the Commodore 64.
Yeah.
Mostly, it's like I like the Atari 8-bit, and I like the Acorn stuff, and I like the Amstrad.
Oh right. You should check out the Apple II then. They're kind of that kind of, I don't know, not the same, but the kind of the games are very similar. If you're going to get an Apple II, like we talked about how hard they are to get, if you can get an Apple II GS, because that's kind of like the Apple Amiga. It had very similar graphics. I think it had a blitter. Yeah, it came out in
I don't see you getting one any time in the near future. But
they're not cheap.
No money and no space.
Yeah,
really.
They're quite small, and they could pop in a telly, which is good. But they're backwards compatible all the way back to the original Apple II. But it actually there was a lot of it. It was a 16-bit Apple II. It's got the same CPU as the Super Nintendo. In fact, I think Super Nintendo games were programmed on an Apple II GS because that CPU is called the 65816, I think. That is backwards compatible with the 6502 that's in the C64 and the NES and the Apple II and tons of things. So they popped that in the Apple II GS because that means it could run the old Apple II stuff. Yeah, it got its own sort of games that use the GS stuff as well. Lots of Amiga games, actually. So I think they were ports, but they're really good sound chip, and came out in 1986. But because Apple were all about getting the Mac, they were promoting the Mac still at that time. The Apple II GS fell by the wayside, even though it was actually a lot better than the Mac at the time.
And there was that thing that they were doing that disappeared. Was it called the Lisa?
Oh yeah, the Lisa. Yeah, God, that's if you find one of them, that's you'll be lucky.
Yeah,
that came out before the Mac. Yeah,
that looked cool.
They were awesome. Yeah, it was a GUI OS before the Mac, about a year before, and it had a mouse. It was the first kind of commercial product with a mouse. So yeah, but it was $10,000 in 1983.
Wow. Oh my God.
Like, I don't know, you could triple that in today's money, but you're going to pay a few £100, maybe even $1,000 if you find one that works. these days, but they're kind of useless. There's not really much you can do with them apart from just have them as a display piece. There's no games.
There are a few things like that, aren't there?
Yeah.
I've got one or two systems sitting in the games room that... Actually, I mean, it's the Neo Geo. Yes, there's lots of games for it, but my God, who can afford them?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a CD, Neo Geo CD, but I don't think I'm going to get the cartridge one. It's just... You'd spend hundreds of thousands of pounds to get a complete set, I would think. And there's not really any games that are sort of under 50 quid, I don't think, really.
That's probably like the baseline. Your cheapest stuff is going to be that, and then you're getting into the hundreds very quickly.
You've got one, haven't you?
I've got the AES, yeah.
Yeah. Have you got games for it then? Have you managed to get a little bit of a thing going with it?
I've got 2 games. One of the beat 'em ups, and I can't remember what it's called. And the thing
Art
called
of Fighting, or
not that one.
Fatal Fury.
That's Fatal Fury Special Edition.
That's one everyone's got. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, and Robo Army, which is pretty decent.
Oh right.
I don't know what that sounds for, but I was given that by a viewer.
Is it a robot-based army game?
Yeah, kinda.
Oh.
The robots are attacking you. You kill them, or if you're me, you die.
So, well, I'll have to check that one out. Sounds a bit like a Metal Slug or something. But
similar, not. It's kind of not up at that sort of level of depth and stuff, but it's pretty decent.
Some people, I was watching a video that claimed that the Neo Geo was overrated.
I don't think so.
I think it's from the angle.
The Neo Geo was at the time an absolutely amazing machine. That I mean, these days you don't get. Imagine having a PS4 and an Xbox One. Oh, and then there's also a console that's 3 times as powerful that you can buy.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably a bigger upgrade than that, I imagine.
Because everyone was playing on the Mega Drive at the time, and here's this thing, and you're like, oh my God.
It was just a mythical thing you read about in computer and video games.
And you looked in, Mean Machines magazine, and you said to your mate, "Oh, have you seen this Neo Geo? The games are £100 each," and it was just you're buying second hand.
That was a misprint the first time I saw it. You can't. The game's not with a bloody unit.
Well, that was the bizarre thing. You see the console selling for, I don't remember how much it cost, and you think, if I really save up, I could afford that. And then you see the game is like, maybe not.
No chance.
Yeah, my mum and dad are not gonna. They're not going to go £100 a game. No, you're not having that.
Yeah, I mean, to say, can you upgrade my Master System to a Mega Drive because it's 16-bit? That was a stretch already. And no Mega CD, no chance. So to go from to have any kind of a chance of getting I never knew anybody that had one. I still don't know anyone. Well, I guess I'll do you guys, but in terms of. Anyone with any kind of a collection, it's just Americans on YouTube, really, the only people that I have any kind of, that I see anyone that owns a substantial.
eBay traders.
Yeah. It doesn't interest me that much, though. There's not many games that I'm... King of Fighters 98, Super Sidekicks, that's it, really. I think I would play on it.
It is one of those where I'll just settle for emulation.
Yeah, and the emulators are perfect now for that, aren't they, really? And a lot of those games are ported... so many times, you could find a decent version, of the big guns. Like King of the Fighters 98 was on the Dreamcast, I think. I think most of them are on the Dreamcast.
Well, I mean, there's King of Fighters it's 2000, up to 2004. But I would love to own a copy of Metal Slug 1, 2, or 3 on it. They were just absolutely awesome games, and to play them on the original hardware. I remember once I was I'm not name dropping here again, or I was in Thailand and I was just bored walking around this shopping centre, and I came across this shop that had all these Neo Geo games in, and one of the games there was Metal Slug, and it was local currency. So I looked at it and I put that into my phone to convert it. And it was over £1,000, and that was probably 7-8 years ago. And you're buying it in Thailand, and I hope there's no one from Thailand listening, but it was, hold on, everything what you're buying over there, you thought, hang on, is it real? And is this a dodgy DVD? Oh God, is this T-shirt I'm buying? Is it real? And
go on AliExpress and get it there. You get a nice repro with a badly printed label, 10 quid.
Converted converted MVS cards to run on the AES, even they cost a fortune. And I mean, they're meant to be significantly cheaper, but they still cost the earth for the Metal Slug games.
Well, Stu, you got the in your shop. You got the Super Gun, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we got a Super Gun in recently. We sold that, but probably about 6-7 years ago, I bought an arcade machine, and we went to pick it up, and we got all the way back to the shop, and I knew it had Metal Slug in there, so I think we bought the arcade machine for let's say £200. I think we sold the 4 games that were just sitting in the bottom. We got our money back straight away on these 4 games, and we just stuck a multi-cart in and left it, for people to play when they came in. Yeah. And I think one of those was the original Metal Slug. And it was, the proper official cartridge. But of course, it's the MVS one, so it wasn't worth, a fifth of what the AES version of Metal Slug was worth.
You'll find even some of the ports of Neo Geo games are quite expensive on their own, like King of the Fighters 95 on the PlayStation 1.
Really?
That's about 100 quid. Yeah, easy. Maybe a bit less if you get a battered. Because we talked about how crap the PlayStation 1 cases are. Mm-hmm. You get on with a cracked case and broken hinge and the inlay sagging. That'll be about 60 quid. Especially when Crash Bandicoot's going for bloody 30 quid now.
Really?
Yeah. Especially if you get the double dual case. You'd be paying an arm and a leg for that now, which is crazy. It's common as balls. That game. There's like millions of them.
Common as balls.
But it's like Mario Kart on the SNES. That's like 40 quid for like a box copy. And that's like, there's millions of them.
It's a really, really good game, though.
But it's the box, isn't it? That's where the value is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the SNES boxes are just
horrendous.
Rubbish. Yeah. So they integrate, and if you've got one with a decent box, that's a rare thing.
It's always the shit games that you get in good quality. I've got Lethal Weapon for the Super Nintendo. The box is immaculate.
I've never touched it.
I've got the bloody instructions, got like the epilepsy leaflet thing, got like a Nintendo poster in there, got like, it's perfect. Yeah. And then I get like Mario World, it's got creases, dog-eared, like crap spilt all over it. It's like where's the justice?
I've got a ton of boxes in my loft, big box Amiga boxes, and I've kicked myself. I've got all the discs sitting in me disc boxes in the other room. Yeah. And all the boxes are up in the loft in really good shape. And do you know what? All of the instructions, AWOL. I just kicked myself because they're all like password protected and silly.
I'll be able to sleep at night.
I could cry.
I mean, the big box. They're lovely, though. Those any kind of PC, big box Amiga games.
Yeah,
love them.
Well, all the instructions got lost when I moved from Milton Keynes to work, so I thought I got them, and I think they got put in with all the stuff I threw out.
Oh, God.
But I still keep the boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to. I had a ton of Amiga boxed games. I had about 40 or 50 when I was a kid, and I kept them all in really good nick. And then something happened. I moved out, obviously, in my late teens, and my parents, and I think he must have chucked them away or something. But I got some of them back. I've ended up with about 4 Frontier Elite 2s for some reason. Some of them have the map and some of them don't. I think I kept rebuying it, thinking, I haven't got it, and then I ended up finding my original copy of it, which annoyed the hell out of me. But like I said, Sensible Soccer still. I think I've got Monkey Island, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's like Monkey Island. I mean, that's like 30 odd quid now if you want to get a box copy. And then obviously you're going to be worrying about if the discs still work, But I suppose you'll buy them knowing that maybe the disc won't work, and you can just, I could just get a copy of the discs.
Get an ADF online and burn it or write it to
Yeah, I need to do that. Trouble is, I don't find it very. The trouble with the Amiga is it's not great for couch gaming. Like again, we've spoken about this before. I think the CD32 is the best one for that because you can get those really cool compilations that get released.
Yeah,
and you can. But they've sort of patched them, haven't they? So they run really well with the pad.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and you can literally.
You need that Competition Pro pad. You try and do it with the original CD32 pad, and does it work?
Oh yeah. Thankfully, I've got that pad. That is bloody expensive now as well. Because that's the one everyone says, "Oh yeah, you got to get that Competition Pro pad." And I think everyone has gone mental over the last few years, grabbing them off eBay, and it's like £40 to get that in a box. It's not a great pad, to be honest. It's good.
No, it works though. Unlike the standard pad boomerang thing, they're just weird.
It's nigh on identical to the one they made for the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive in terms of the build, but just because it's got the end of it as a bloody CD32 connector, it causes. The regular pad is all right. It's just that horrible mushy start button or whatever that button's supposed to be, and the sort of triggers at the top. It's funny
because conk out there, don't they?
Yeah, the D-pad is very poor, isn't it as well? But yeah, in terms of having something set in so you can just slouch in front of your telly, I think the CD32 is the best option because an Amiga, you need to be hunched over it to be able to get a game running. Well, I guess you can have wireless mice now, can't you? So you can kind of sit a bit away from it. Yeah. But there's still some navigation to do, whereas get one of those big compilations like the 888 one and the 444 one.
The loading time frustrates me. I'm kind of impatient, and it's just sitting there decrunching, and you're like, pulling your hair out and grinding your teeth and stuff.
They're a bit finicky as well, aren't they? I find they crash a lot. Like, I'll get a game going and it'll just zonk out, and I'll reset it and it'll work the next time. And it has the weird thing where the way they've kind of patched the game to work as a CD file, it sort of flashes on and off, which is the point the game would load from a floppy disk, apparently, I read somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was trying to play Mortal Kombat 2, the Amiga version, and when you're all right in the middle of a battle, but if someone's about to do a fatality, it will sort of flash on and off, and then the fatality would happen, then it will flash on and off again to load the next thing. So they have to be specially, like, all kinds of weird computing crap has to happen for that to be fixed. But yeah. That website that does the really good ones, I think that's the best way to play an Amiga. Although a 600 is good because that'll fit nicely under a telly as well.
I find mostly when I'm playing Amiga these days, it's on me 1200 tower, and it's like WHD load thing. I finally got into that because they made it free eventually, and it's like, right, I'll have some of that, and I was making videos and going through them alphabetically, and I think I got as far as B or C. And
yeah. I don't know how many commercial games there were for the Amiga. It must be, God,
Steve. Take us through. I sound right geeky now, but your Amiga 1200 setup.
Oh God!
is it a real sort of powerful beast with? It's cards or
oh God, what's it? It's a standard 1200 motherboard. I don't remember if it's an original Commodore one or if it's one of those later ones. I think it's an original Commodore. It's got a 68060. It's a Phase 5.
060. Oh my God!
Is that legal?
Oh. How do you handle that much power?
Well,
man, I dreamed of that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You must be hitting at least 15 frames a second in Doom with that bit.
Doom is playable on it. I have done Doom on it.
Yeah.
Nice. It's the Jeff Crammond's Formula 1 on it. When you've used F1 GP to increase the frame rate, that's just nice.
Yeah, that's like the Crisis, isn't it, of the Amiga world? As in Crisis the game, it's the one couldn't run Crisis. Like the Amiga was like F1 GP. Can you run it at more than -6 frames?
It bugs if you put it up to 25 frames a second. It bugs out, and all the cars just spin around, which is weird. So it's not the best idea.
Yeah, the physics
Yeah.
The physics is tied to the frame rate or something, isn't it? Yeah.
Odd. But what else is it? It's got 32 megs of RAM, but that's 132 meg SIM, and I've still got another slot with nothing in it at the minute. There is a Zorro 2 bus board with, oh God, I've got 2 cards that go in it. One's called a Cat Weasel and Buddha, and one is called an IIGS, and that was for a faster, I can't remember if it was serial or parallel port, which was good for internet access. The IIGS was like HD floppy drives and extra IDE ports. So I stuck a HD, there was a PC floppy drive I stuck in there, which was sort of semi-reliable. It's got a SCSI interface with a CD writer in it, and that was, wow. CD writers at that time were like unheard of, so it was copying stuff. Copying stuff or burning CDs on an Amiga is a nightmare, because you've got to write an image and then you've got to burn it, and if you do anything else, if it even thinks about multitasking, that's it. You've trashed your disk, because there was no overhead whatsoever. You were using all the power. I don't know what else is in it. About a gigabyte hard drive, which sounds like nothing now, but
there's a lot of Amiga games.
Yeah.
Do you still? I mean, is it? I don't want to say is it your main PC. I imagine your PC is your main PC, but is it always sort of set up and you go, oh, actually, I use it twice a week?
Yeah, I don't use it ever so often. It is always set up. It's plugged into the telly. It's just like one button push and it's on. But is
that your Amiga?
Yeah.
You don't have a little separate. You just pop it into your main little telly there, and
it's plugged into the main telly in the games room. There's like that many inputs. It's one of the many things that's plugged in all the time.
You have like a wireless keyboard and mouse with it, or you just drag the old cable?
No, wires all over the place. You walk in there, you trip over the spaghetti.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically 5% of your Amiga is the original Amiga, and the rest is all this, all this live support stuff you've bolted onto it.
And the case is rubbish. I'm trying to remember who it's made by, Micronic. And I've got like an extension piece on the top of it. Now, I don't know if it was designed wrong or I put it together wrong, which is entirely possible. But it doesn't all fit together properly. And if you basically pick the thing up to try and move it, it's just going to fall apart. The sides fall off.
It was the only choice, really, wasn't it? There was no real Commodore. Well, there was the A4000T, which is kind of the holy grail of Amigas. That was the only kind of official, tower Amiga. Yeah. Well, was it 3? No, the 3000 was a piece.
3000. They're quite desirable as well.
Yeah. But
have you seen these Vampire 2 Dubries?
Yeah,
and I believe they're bringing out, I hope they are, a 1200 version, and it's sort of like, one little chip, you just stick it on, and it makes your sort of Amiga 1200 sort of like amazingly powerful.
Yeah.
1,000 times like upgrade, literally the power of it, isn't it? It's insane.
I'm torn by those. I'm like, I want that, but on the other hand, is it really an Amiga, or is it?
Yeah, is it backward? Can you just say, right, I want to play Super Frog? Can you, with your like Amiga 600 with a Vampire, and it kind of just like bung the disc in, and it, or what? I don't really get how you have to. Can you just run old Workbench? I'm sure there's silly questions that are. Yeah, I'm not so sure.
I don't know. I think they're meant to be, but I did look into them a while ago, but I don't remember what it was I found out when I looked into it. I've completely forgotten all. But I think if I was to get one, I would want another Amiga to put it into. I'm so familiar with the thing I've got, how it works, and all its little quirks and things. I think to do anything to it now would just feel like a betrayal, if you like. I sort of have a sort of loyalty to the machine, which might sound odd, but it's my baby.
What Amiga's all about, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you run? Have you got like a super like modded Workbench software OS on it, or is it just like the bog standard 3.1 or whatever that on your Amiga?
Pretty standard, yes. It is. I think it's 3.4. No, I think it is 3.1. It's pretty standard.
So any kind of Amiga game that ever came out, you can just throw that quite happily at it, and it will just run as if it was a.
If it runs in WHD load, it runs on that. Yeah, I don't have too much. It's like they fixed all of the incompatibilities with the 060 and all that lot, or they seem to. There's stuff that I couldn't run before unless I did the whole, you hold down the mouse button thingy and go into the boot up menu.
Oh yeah.
Turn off the accelerator and all kind. These things. WHD load is just like double click and away you go, which is lovely.
Yeah, it's annoying because I've got an Amiga 1200 that's got a WHD load thing in it, but I haven't got enough RAM to use it. I've got a base 2 megabyte, and I need to sort of triple that, I think, and then I'll be able to run all the games that are on there. And it's just been sat there doing nothing, so I need to get on that. But it's hard to get trapdoor expansions now that are just to give you that amount. Well, there's one. Is it in individual computers or whatever they're called? They're like a you get on
Amiga kit,
yeah. I think that you can get RAM off them, can't you? But
I would imagine. I've never actually bought anything from them, but it's like I'm aware that they exist, and I've looked on their site every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd rather, if I was going to do it, I'd get a 600 and put one of them vampire things in it if it did work as well as perhaps your setup does, because obviously it's super easy to hide away somewhere, and also I think you get a HDMI out now with that vampire thing. So
nice.
Well, I think you have to it's weird. You have to have it connected twice to the TV because obviously because a lot of the old Amiga stuff won't run through HDMI.
Right.
Not directly from the Amiga, so you can get frame meisters and all that stuff. But yeah, and if you want to go into the new Amiga stuff, you can do that over the HDMI. So that sounds a bit annoying to me, but
it's odd.
Yeah. Then I use WinUAE on my PC, so if I get a huge craving to play an Amiga game, I'll just do that if there's not a CD32, version of it.
I play a few Amiga games on the GPDXD. It's kind of tricky trying to find ones that don't need the keyboard and whatever. But the odd one here and there, the Lotus, I think it's Lotus 2 actually, that runs quite nicely on it. And I'll have a bash at that every so often on there.
Does it just run the WHD load sort of images or whatever they're called, or do you have to sort of go to a menu and tell it that the disc is inserted and all that stuff like WinUAE?
I tend to do it with the floppy, with the ADF, but I think it will run WHD load, I think, with the disk image. I just don't think I've stuck one on me GPDXD, but I think it will do it.
Oh, cool. I'll have to investigate that. Right, chaps, I think we've gone over an hour, actually. I think we all need to go and get our din-dins.
Time flies.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? We're talking about Frankenstein Amigas. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Stu. It's been, and Steve.
Yeah, no problem. No.
Don't get you mixed up.
Yeah. Not
Pretty much ST, not Atari ST. The two letters of your name. Thanks, Steve, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
We'll hopefully get you on again.
It's really good.
So thanks, guys. And where can you find us, Stu, when you want to...
Right, we're on... we've got a website, consoleshock.net. We've got a YouTube channel, Console Shock. You just search Console Shock. We've also got you find us on iTunes under Console Shock. And I believe we're on Stitcher as well. And we have a Facebook page as well. Console Shock.
So thanks, everyone, for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again on the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.